Hello, I'm Reverend Kenny Callahan, the pastor at Metropolitan Community Church of Richmond, and I'd like to ask you a question. When you think of the word Sabbath, what comes to mind? Is it a day to take a break or a day to sleep in and to hang out at home? Is it perhaps the rock band from the 70s? Is it something Jewish people do or some set of religious rules? Or is it a holy day, a day of honoring God? Or is it simply that you don't have any idea of what Sabbath means? For the next 3 weeks, we'll explore the meaning of Sabbath and consider its relevance for our lives as a spiritual practice. In our fast-paced society and world, it can seem strange when things come to a screeching halt and stop for whatever reason. But what if, in our uncomfortableness, God uses our disorientation for reorientation in thinking differently about all kinds of possibilities in life? And what if, during the COVID pandemic and all the realities of it that we find ourselves experiencing, we rediscover the importance of Sabbath, taking time to intentionally stop all activity, to slow down, to rest, to chill out, and open our hearts and our lives, allowing God to refresh our minds, our bodies, and our spirit. Sabbath comes from the Hebrew word meaning to cease or to stop working. In Jewish tradition, it was a full day each week dedicated to rest and prayer. It was the idea that there are 6 days for work and one entire day for absolute, complete rest. Observing the Sabbath is the fourth and most detailed of the 10 commandments, yet I believe it's likely one of the least kept commandments. Sabbath is a practice commanded over and over again in the Old Testament, and Jesus affirms and models Sabbath in the New Testament. I believe practicing Sabbath is something very hard for us to fully absorb and to embrace. And yet God is reminding us of our need to regularly step out of the mindset and the drive for constant activity that our culture places on us. We live in a very fast-paced world where we're often overachievers, hurrying and rushing here and there, working endless hours until our energy is depleted and our personal well-being and self-care is non-existent. God is calling us to regularly stop doing and to practice just being. Sadly, many of us define ourselves and determine our success and self-worth by our busyness, by our routines of workaholism and perfection, instead of finding solace and comfort and peace in God as our source of all things, and remembering that we are named, claimed, and celebrated as the beloved of God, just the way we are. I believe that unless we regularly stop, we forget that God is God and we are not. We forget that we are human beings with bodies, hearts, and minds that need rest, that need refreshment and rejuvenation and care. We need constant reminders that our strength and dependence comes from the transforming love of God, who is always ready to meet us as we are and where we are. The question is, can we stop long enough to fully experience the love of God through the practice of Sabbath? The practice of Sabbath can be uncomfortable because we are trained to measure our worth of a day by what we accomplish. But what do we do with a day in which the goal is not to accomplish a thing? The Sabbath day is to be kept holy, a day to remember, a day for prayer, a day for storytelling, a day for family, a day for reading, a day for rest, a day to be refreshed and rejuvenated by our relationship with the divine, a day for soul rest. During the next 3 weeks, we'll have a sermon series in which the question that we'll consider is, what could Sabbath mean for us today, especially as we live through these COVID pandemic days?